Welcome everyone back to the Quake Pro League as we've got 2 more series left to go. 5 down, 2 to go as we've got nosfa versus dramiS coming up next. And just after we've got Tox versus Venga. So something a little bit spicy to add to the finish line here. And joining me is ZSX as always. And Dan, the day's been not too shabby so far. You know, a couple of upsets, a few maps taken.
Yeah, and we're going into the featured series now, unsupervised. So
yes.
We get to have as much fun as we want. Don't know how DJ Week got a holiday in his contract, but anyway, we get to finish this day off in style for once, which is going to be good because, yes, you're right, this day has been unbelievable. So if you haven't seen it, obviously watch the replay because even if you know the scores, these matches have just been just nuts today.
You're right, though. Now that Dad's not around, we can play around, can't we? So it should be something a little bit more special going forward. And this matchup in general with nosfa versus dramiS, I can't get my head around what to really expect from this matchup entirely because nosfa had an extremely good showing against Xenoku last week and actually took it 2-1 with a phenomenal finish over on Awoken. But dramiS, he's had some hit and misses. He's been good some matches, some bad ones as well. We saw him struggle just only a little bit against Strong Sage, even though he did get taken down there. But I'm not really too sure what to expect. It's being a rock, paper, scissors kind of scenario, really. Of course, you know, you've got Zen getting taken down by nosfa, Zen then taking down Rafa this week. It's been a bit pear-shaped here, Dan.
Yeah, it has been a little bit. I had some really high hopes for dramiS coming into this season. He's obviously been growing into the QPL since his inception, and particularly last stage, it was much more of almost a breakout for him, and he's been developing. But coming into this one, results haven't shown it. Whereas nosfa had a complete change of fortunes, obviously from a couple of years ago, came in really strong, somewhat plateaued, but this stage so far, been putting in some strong performances. So this one, again, is more of a line in the sand between these two as they're sitting relatively even in the leaderboard to put some separation and daylight between each other. Yeah,
nosfa was, obviously that's why it was called a lightning in a bottle to begin with. It was very similar to how Maxter performs in terms of his style of play, keeps it very high octane, very quick, decisive, uses his initiative, more of his strategic values. But this time round, over the last couple of years, he's changed things up a little bit. He's kind of meshed the two together to kind of find that middle ground to be able to adapt to some of these top names, which I kind of feel like he has done. Sometimes he falls off a little bit. Sometimes he's actually on the opposite end of the spectrum. But this time around, after taking down Xenoku, he's been looking in tip-top shape. Sometimes he can be a little bit more momentum-based, sometimes he's not. It really depends on the map and how he kind of expedites a lot of these matchups with these certain different players. It's tough though. This is why I've been really struggling because normally to me it's like it depends how nosfa feels this day, but dramiS is currently on the same wavelength, isn't he, in terms of how he performs. So both of them could completely have a total role reversal overall in terms of going over in terms of their morality, but honestly, it really is tough indeed. But let's just go to the picks and bans. It might help us out a little bit here, Dan, going forward. As Deep Embrace and Cut to keep having bad outright. And it looks like we're going to have Awoken, Molten Falls, and then Ruins to finish things off.
We have a bit of a mix-up on Awoken for once, where nosfa straight up just picks the Nyx, but then again, the Strog was banned. So, you know, Doom was on the table, but favours the Nyx just because of the all-round game that she can offer. A little bit more risky, but if you're confident in yourself, Nyx is always an amazing pick. Molten Falls, they both got aggressive there with the slash against the Sorlag or the Snorlag, and then we're going into the Ruins where we have the Galena against the Visor. Now we haven't seen a lot of a Visor today. I think we've seen it once, but Ruins is one of those maps where it comes out really, really hot. We know what Galena can bring. As we saw under Awoken on the Veil map earlier, if Galena can get those totems up and you don't remove them, she becomes incredibly difficult. So I'm looking forward to this one. As you say, they both are a little bit erratic at times. nosfa's been slightly more consistent this season, but we know when dramiS comes and plays as good as he can, he's one of these players, once again, that can literally beat anyone and take series off anyone. So should be a good one for a featured series.
See, Dan is always going to punish me for that mistake. Ever since I said Snorlag 5 years ago in that Go 4 2v2, that's it. Dan is going to punish me he'll remind me at least twice a year, bare minimum, and so I just got to prepare myself and just expect it. But yeah, Snorlag was a good one. I'm trying not to I'm going to say it in repetition now and say it by accident, but yeah, you'll never let me off. It's just fine. I've I've accepted it. But yeah, going into this match, I still don't know in terms of predictions. I feel like nosfa may have the advantage considering how well he performed against Zen. He had the lack of hesitation coming from him, the quick adaptation across the board, and how strongly he performed in that third map against Zen was just so crucial to the pinnacle of his performance. But if we see that side of nosfa, great. But if not, then dramiS will probably take it the opposite end. But it's definitely going to go all 3 maps either way.
Yep, I agree. We have to go to 3 maps, and I'm going to say I'm going to go with dramiS. I think he hasn't had the best start to the season, but he's also put in some strong performances, just not had his luck go his way a little bit. And I feel that if they both play their game, I would side with dramiS 9 times out of 10 to take it. But I feel nosfa will still pick up a map, so I'm going to say 2-1 to dramiS.
Yeah, you do feel like dramiS has that level of consistency, don't you? It's like nosfa, we've seen him do incredibly well this season, and then some matches were like, like what on earth happened there? But yeah, it seemed a lot better last week. But now that I've, of course, predicted him 2-1, he's just going to... well, I hope not anyway, because there should be a spicy series in itself anyway, because both of them are such momentum-based players, it's very hard to really predict the outcome of what could happen. And having a first map, second map, fifth, sixth map indicator isn't really going to help, because it's going to be very back and forth in that department anyway. As well, going to get underway very shortly. And still, in terms of the league table, it's very important for these guys. Of course, nosfa is currently 6th on the league standings here, going 3-1. So is that quite clean sheet so far? And for dramiS, though, it's more weird for him. It's more required from him really to go. It's going 1-3 and going 5-7 in maps. So has had a lot of maps on his in his backpack, but just not, of course, secure some of his series here. So for dramiS, he does really need is to even have a chance to be able to secure a top 8 spot.
Yeah, exactly. As you say, dramiS 5-7 in maps, 1-3 in total series score. Always manages to pick up something even if he's losing. So that's the point of difference this season so far. A lot of things just haven't slipped his way. So I think 2-1 is a fair result, and I'm gonna give it to dramiS.
We'll have to see here. Start things off on Awoken very shortly. Here to get into the game and ready. So we should be starting very shortly. And yeah, I think it could be why it was one of the final series of the day. I think there could have been about 4 matches in all fairness today. What could have been, it could have been a final series of the day, like the Strong Sage Killson one, Rafa, Zen, of course, as we mentioned previously. But let's get straight. That was in the past. Let's look into the future here, or the present rather, as we're going to have the dramiS versus nosfa matchup. First map on Awoken, and it will be, of course, the Nyx versus the Ranger. And we're going to kick things off from nosfa's perspective to see exactly what he's going to do. At the very beginning, just raining down a couple of rockets here and there, but not going to find any damage as of yet. There's a little bit of damage in the meantime previously, as he's getting back top mid control. Just having a bit of a wander around to see if he is lurking around that choke point, which he is not. So nosfa now, he's biding his time at the moment, playing a slow game and just trying to get an idea and analyse the situation.
Trading rails to start with. dramiS coming off slightly worse of that exchange, but they're still bang on even in terms of stack.
Look at this. Both of them going back and forth, being proactive, checking their angles and their areas, but neither of them are looking to force an error into himself. That was a great rocket coming out from dramiS, though. That was key. And look at the stack difference already this early on. Of course, the items 2.5 seconds apart. So, because whoever grabs that mega will have a very small window to try and get a bit of damage onto the heavy straight afterwards. As nosfa just backing away. Or it could be a complete opposite. Might just prioritize the heavy anyway. Whoever's got the biggest stack there. It's nosfa just trying to... Oh, he comes out as well, nice. But used to the aggressive goes for it. He's decided to back away after that. He's a little bit unsure there as the LG battle comes out between the two, and nosfa still comes out on top considering the stack difference.
Yeah, nosfa going in there. Big balls to take that fight, but he caught dramiS semi off guard, and as you say, comes out on top. He's stuck in the corner now with no ghost walk. dramiS knows it, which is why he's standing out. He wants this fight. Goading Nyx, but nosfa more than going toe-to-toe with dramiS at the moment.
Oh, he drops down perfect time as well as he's picking up the heavy. Nosfa's rocket jumps away, of course, with the passive. He hits the rail as well, and literally his Nyx is screaming for her life at that point and still manages to survive. But yeah, he should be able to continue this survival process anyway, as he misses that first rail, but dramiS comes in with the orb as well, misses such a crucial rail there. The 2.5 minutes in doesn't really feel like a 1-0 scoreline considering what we've been greeted with so far, but good rail finally coming out from dramiS, but nosfa then trades back out straight afterwards as well.
And what's really impressive about nosfa is he's just hitting these absolute clutch shots once he has to hit, and gets himself a second frag.
Yeah, it certainly does, and let's see if it can continue to do so. It was actually on Awoken when nosfa played out of his mind against Zen in last week's match. It's another rail, but yeah, it doesn't really want to take the chance, which is understandable here, but great rocket from nosfa, being very patient with his anger he had, and he's going to clean him up with the heavy machine gun. Beautiful stuff from nosfa, and I completely understand the weapon selection as well, just extra insurance with that heavy machine gun.
Yeah, nosfa's favoring just playing ultimately positional. He's allowing dramiS onto these items for the most part, and punishing him for doing so by taking these aggressive positions on the pickup. And so far it's been working. Obviously dramiS is now slowly creeping his way back into this set, but coming from a 3-1 scoreline down.
Damn, it's dramiS now. Still got a fair amount to do here as of yet. Hasn't got the stack he requires, but trap him in his choke point might be something different, but the Ghost Walk is popped. Heavy is up, and now he isn't available, so he can pick up this heavy, even if it does take a lot of damage. It burns it, but in the end, though, at least I suppose that nosfa didn't bag that in the end, as dramiS only 3 frags behind. Mega's up the next couple of seconds. Would have been in a better position if he got there a little bit quicker, but the LG battle comes out between the two. Heavy's up in 12.
Really clinical from nosfa. It's really clinical.
Yeah, it really has been indeed. Mega's up in 5. Q and the angle, but sadly missed. dramiS is going to go for the TP and try to see from behind, but the orb, and I love that from nosfa as well, just initiate the orb, sorry, the Ghost Walk straight after the orb. Spare himself a spot of bother. 5 seconds until this heavy. nosfa's in a much better position. May just force dramiS just to completely leave it. He's actually just coming with the LG. Gets a lot of damage due to the weapon selection of nosfa there, because he had animation, but it still takes him down nonetheless, left on 72 HP. No light. There's dramiS a window now to maybe clean him up with the LG, but problem is, and he has the orb as well, so it's still doable. Problem is, it's still trailing behind by that 6 frag deficit. 4 minutes left. If he's up in 5, of course, dramiS has got the positional advantage. And nosfa knows this, so he's switching to that defensive composure.
Once again, nosfa just playing on the defensive, playing nice and slow, using those audio cues wisely. Quite happy for dramiS to take these items and maintain his own stack, just make sure he's got a better position for the next engagement.
Stack-wise, dramiS looking pretty damn good, but he's taking a huge bunch of damage there from those rockets. Actually comes out worse. nosfa knows he must be lurking around that area. Where else could be recovering from? Going in that position. Circling around, rotating to see if he can do any more. But this is the problem here for dramiS. For nosfa, he doesn't really need the frags. If he does enough damage, he knows that, of course, dramiS is going to just back away and try and recover. Straight after, just waste another 5 or 10 seconds, but some good rockets there. That scared the Jesus out of me. But some good shots again coming up from dramiS, considering the position he just placed himself in. Oh, the orb! Only did 48 damage there. Such a shame. But trades anyway.
Does trade anyway. He has to string a couple of frags together now if he wants to forge a comeback. 8-2 with only 2.5 minutes to go is such a high bar for dramiS here going up against the Nyx.
He's going to have to hit so much, the majority of everything he has here, but defensive rockets are tickling dramiS a tad here and there, but just slowly eats away at you. Affects him in the long run, but picks up the heavy. Mega's up in 10. nosfa has a position, which does mean that he could do a fair amount of damage, even if he doesn't win the fight outright, but it does actually equal the stack, which is a little bit surprising, and it could almost, and he does take down dramiS.
He does, and nosfa's making this look fairly almost mundane and simple at times, which is exactly what you want as a Nyx. That means you're in the right positions, you're not being dragged into any combat you don't want to. You're playing it on your terms.
Oh, that rail would have been so important from nosfa. Tri-buck though will suffice with the 40. It's been up for a while now. It's been picked up finally by dramiS, but yeah, minute 25 left. Good bit of damage from the last rocket, but even better rail to boot straight after by that drive-by from dramiS. Does it seem like dramiS sadly just couldn't find his footing here in this game? Play how we would like to play, as the defensive rockets were really good from nosfa, just always covering the choke points, forcing into dramiS into rotations, which didn't really want to make too much. Good orb as well, but again, goes what popped straight away. With 9-4 now in favour of nosfa, just a matter of time before we head into this second map.
I think that's a good summary. dramiS was just not able to play the game he wanted to. So that's all the credit to nosfa, who put a strangle on this map. Made it look just simple.
Ooh, nosfa's going to make it at 10 here. Yeah, I've already mentioned it. This is already sealed and improved. As nosfa does take this first map, and I think a lot of us probably expected nosfa to take this map. He's quite renowned globally to be very good on Awoken overall. You know, the great example of that is how he played against Zen last week on Awoken. I think it was like 19-5, if I remember rightly at the top of my head, or roughly around that scoreline. And there we have it. So nosfa will take this first map in the series. Of course, it's the first of 2 featured matchups here. If you're just joining us, just checking the damage as well. It looks like he did just under 1,300 damage. dramiS 20 items, and nosfa Lizard just a little bit more there. So quite even in terms of item count anyway, which is a little bit shocking because it didn't feel that way. It was very back and forth, but as I mentioned earlier, at one point with nosfa, just covered all the right tracks and the right angles and made himself very difficult to damage to a certain point, like just sitting in all the choke points, making sure to force dramiS down these paths and rotations which he did not want to take. But dramiS took the risks when he had a great stack, and with the amount of unreturned damage which he made, what more could dramiS do really? Had to be maybe a little bit more patient to stop the scoreline from spiraling out of control. You know, it could be a number of things.
Yeah, it needed to be more careful around picking up these items, particularly in the early game. And the way nosfa was playing, he was just cutting off, as you say, cutting off the choke points, cutting off in between the major items, and then playing very good but aggressive on his opponent's pickups, which nullified the stack and prohibited dramiS from doing the aggressive moves he wanted to, particularly with that orb. It just slowed the tempo down to basically a snail's pace, and nosfa was able to pick dramiS off when he pleased. 60% rail, he was clinical, and he was only taking items when he felt safe to do so. So he played a really good, strong defensive Nyx, and dramiS kind of played into that a little bit, so that's why it was made to look quite simple from nosfa's point of view. Well executed.
Certainly was indeed. So that was Awoken. Molten Falls coming up next between Slash and Sorlag, or Snorlag, however you want to call it. And then Ruins, we've got Visor versus Galena. And this Molten Falls map for the Slash and the Sorlag. Now, we've seen Sorlag used once or twice. I recollect Zen using it once, trying to think who the other person was who used it this season, but obviously the slash is obviously going to be like the favorite going into this matchup, of course, especially for those pickups. Of course, we've got the spit for the sword lag for the defensive purposes, but with the trail, it's hard to not say that the slash is going to have the upper hand in a lot of these circumstances.
It can definitely go both ways. I think we've seen dramiS play it on this map against Sirius, if I remember rightly, and we believe we've seen Wenger play. It can go both ways. Obviously, you can soak a lot of damage as the sword lag, but you're also very vulnerable. If you can get that full control and rotation, you can also use your speed to bully your opponent. Slash will then have to play smart, play the high ground, use her speed to play keep away, and that's not the position you want to be in. So it will come down to the execution here. If the slash can open up the angles early and keep the sword lags stack in check, then I feel it could be a fairly comfortable game for the slash. But you have to remember how vulnerable she is as well.
Yeah, this is the issue, isn't it? Just an element of caution, not just from the opponent playing slash, but of course yourself. We've seen some people, we've seen Strong Sage actually use scale on this map against a slash in the past, and he's a cheeky boy, Dan. He's a cheeky boy, hides in some crevices here and there and does take down quite well, quite easily. And we might see a little bit of that as a change of pace at some point in this matchup here, starting off from nosfa's perspective.
Yeah, dramiS actually got both major items, so nosfa has to play slower than he would have wanted to start with. They're going to meet up here as well. Wrong weapon coming out from nosfa's point of view. Eats a lot of damage with that nail gun. dramiS lets him get away for now, though, in favor of just keeping that rotation going.
nosfa does have the better angle, but of course Heavy's been taken. Almost got the trail once again, comes up in 10. But items, of course, heavily in favour of dramiS. You can see nosfa now just being very cautious at this stage. It needs to be extra cautious for that time where dramiS favours him over the heavy, which is what he's exactly doing. And I like this for nosfa as well. With some players, it can be something they least expect a little bit. Obviously, when their opponent does approach, you'll prep for that heavy, or maybe expect it a little bit later down the line. But the fact that dramiS went straight for him this early on rather than going for this heavy, he's not looking to play the slow game at all in the slightest. He's looking for blood early on.
Yeah, and I don't mind this. Because nosfa missed out on both major items to start with, he's on the back foot. There's very little he can do. So at the moment, he's playing his preservation game. He needs to play the long game to get back into this. He wants dramiS to overextend to punish him, and then nosfa can begin to play aggressive. Really nice cut off there using his speed once again, and look at the stacks. He's managed to completely not only manage them, but get the lead and get the first frag. Oh yes!
No. Oh my God! Just literally sitting on the edge. When I saw that situation, I just assumed that he was going to be a goner with the rockets. But luckily, both players were, and a few dicey moments there. Heavy is up. nosfa's been playing a really good defensive game, but the reason why he's been extremely aware of what to expect, looking to the future, what he could do, knowing that dramiS is most probably going to prioritize him over some of the items. Just little things like this is keeping him alive in this matchup. And again, just keep an eye on what nosfa does. dramiS may have a huge stack at this pace, but nosfa's been doing a good job just keeping his distance and trying to maintain some kind, of course, not map dominance, but just to try and sectionize himself from dramiS in a lot of ways here. So again, just continuing to recover. It's going to be quite a while until nosfa can put himself back in this matchup stack-wise. But look at this, dramiS is going to be finding him, but a good direct is going to give him a tiny bit of leeway for him to be able to recover as well.
Oh, nosfa got caught here. Don't think he heard that. That was painful. I was about to say, dramiS needs to be more careful when playing. Even though he's got this full stack, nosfa's playing around just this constant speed from the sword lag, using the audio cues to cut him off in the choke points. So definitely want to see more calculated pushes from dramiS' side of things. But that was obviously a big mistake for nosfa to tie it up.
Yeah, still early on as one apiece. dramiS with the advantageous position. Oh, he's going to literally dive straight on it, even with the spit. Good rails coming up from dramiS. He's finally going to make it 2. And stack advantage, of course, down for the majority of this match. I mean, he's going to continue to maintain that as he actually catches him off guard. nosfa's just going to back away instantly. But this is good for dramiS, though. Remember, it's very difficult to kind of claw your way back with even a 1 or 2 frag lead as the Slash. But as the Sorlag now, it's going to give him a bit more leeway here. But also at the same time for nosfa, it's going to give him time to recollect and exactly what he needs to do in terms of his game plan.
Yeah, nosfa taking the bait there on the heavy, trying to get in and out using the speed of the Slash. He misses the pickup though. Oh, that's gotta hurt.
No, I was wondering that was going to happen, but does it 1? He's trying to mix it 2.
Nice!
2 for 2 as dramiS now makes it 4.
Oh, he's leaving up the heavy, just delaying it. Doesn't have time to pick up this Mega, so nosfa should be able to prevent this push, which he does, but actually falls on down as well. It does the damage and gets the pickup.
And dramiS just still continuing with that recovery rotation, uses the spit. Oh, great amount of damage, and the rail back to back straight afterwards. 5-1 here, Dan.
These are some spicy plays from dramiS.
Lovely. Oh, he's hitting once, looking for the second, doesn't hit it. But Dan, dramiS is just looking so good over the last couple of minutes, just dissecting nosfa in a couple of his moments. But nosfa's going 3 for 3 with that rail. And this could be a moment for him to bring this back in terms of the matchup here. Still a 3 frag deficit, doable as the Slash, especially with that 3 frag. And the heavy's up though, but he's going to have to literally sacrifice it. But cleans him up anyway. Good stuff from nosfa.
Yeah, but all these frags are so messy that keeps dramiS in the game. He's going to go flying through. He's the greedy one this time. He takes the bait. Leaves nosfa reeling, but nosfa gets the frag and can begin to recoup. There's a long time before this next heavy. This is certainly a very messy game so far. nosfa has regained his composure and is beginning to connect with the shots that he was missing for the first few minutes.
Oh, what the flake. And obviously production, if you could get a slow-mo on that, it must have been a frame or a pixel or something silly. Could be wrong, but we have to watch that back. 10 seconds until the next heavy. nosfa has getting the angle. Drops down, hits the first, hits the second, looking for the third. It's going to dive on in. Of course, that's the advantage, but it's given up a lot of his stack, but doesn't matter, does have the heavy. Taking the brunt of that as well. And dramiS looking to try and back away again, but gonna get a shot few in between the legs. But Mega's up, and that's going to be nosfa's.
Joga bonito from nosfa. I think that's what it is. But anyway, he's playing some beautiful Quake, and yet somehow it's still 5-5. They're both hitting incredible shots. Nobody's able to get that concrete lockdown. nosfa was on the back foot for the vast majority of this game, but still brought it back to that 5-5.
Oh, a little bit. Oh, it's just packing a little bit of a punch here and there, just looking for one more rail, and that is going to do it. nosfa
nice.
With the lead, 2 minutes left. And remember, dramiS was up 5-1 at one stage. Oh, the Rockets again. The rail to boot straight afterwards. Dan is looking to make it 7, and he does.
Wow, he has not looked back since getting control right now. Cycling both major items, and dramiS can't do anything to put a stall to this. Keeps trying to go fight fire with nosfa, but that's because nosfa's taking the fight to him just like this. And every time it's right before the next round of pickups. And you can see he's got the light and mega and heavy on rotation at the moment.
Yeah, my word, nosfa's just telegraphed this perfectly. And he missed a couple of shotgun shots there, backing out once more. Oh, and dramiS takes him down through the TP anyway. So we've still got 1:15 left. dramiS is now with the upper hand in terms of stack, not in terms of scoreline though. And he actually finds him. Will he be able to catch him? Yes, he does. Only one frag in it. And this is where nosfa will either try and turn things around, have a defensive posture, and then see if he changes things up. Because look at the stack difference, Dan. There's only so much nosfa can do at this stage. And you know, Sorlag don't want to fight against this.
No. Oh,
good.
Massive rocket. nosfa know the timing? He's there. Oh, there's going to be a fight. Big rockets from nosfa. They're both low. The spit comes out. No way!
Oh, 8 HP.
I mean, nosfa should get the next frag now. If I was dramiS, you need to defend these choke points, but he's also railable, so he wants to be regaining this stack. That was a critical rail to hit, though. Still has to be careful. They're both extremely low. nosfa has the timing because he was there last time, and dramiS actually forfeits.
And see nosfa circling around once again. dramiS.
Oh no, he missed it! No!
Oh no, literally by just a couple of seconds. Heavy's up in 13. There's not really anything he can do. The ball is in nosfa's court now. One good rail or even just a standard push because he knows how weak he is. He's trying to get away as fast as he can. The Heavy's up in 2 seconds here. He's going to leave it. The light does come up in the nick of time, but how long for? He's going to catch him. They're going to meet and greet here and hits the direct. He's going to hit with the rail and dramiS, by the skin of his teeth, takes map number 2. Goodness, that was... We thought it was going to be all nosfa's in for what we saw in terms of that stack. That was ridiculous stuff. And between them, I think I just saw a glimpse of it. I think only 210 damage in between the two.
I think nosfa just 5-headed himself.
Yeah.
because he knew the timing of the light, right? He knew the timing of that light armor because he'd been cycling it. And he saw the clock. He knew the Heavy was up. He knew that Sorlag had run the opposite direction, so wanted to take the resource away. I don't think he intended to take that fight, or at least miscalculated how fast Sorlag was going because he was unprepared. And I mean, yeah, I think he literally outbrained himself.
I can imagine what dramiS is going to say. And this is the slow-mo as well. Do you know what? I think I have to see it even slower probably because I literally missed it as we were talking about it. But choose production anyway for seeing that. But yeah, that was a great second map. I didn't know how it was going to unfold. I was a little bit worried with when dramiS had a 5-1 lead and he was looking very good in terms of stack because he had the majority of the items and then just turned it on its head entirely. And look at that from dramiS on a slash as well, 50% accuracy. But even though he's playing the Sorlag, nosfa still did pretty damn well with the 58% there. So we didn't see too much LG coming up from dramiS, all rockets and rail during those situations there. But this is great, and it's obviously going into this third map now, which could be anyone's guess, and we did say it's going to be quite unpredictable in terms of what to expect as something a little bit less meta. But of course, with most of the champions banned, this is kind of the champion picks we would expect with the Visor versus the Galena on Ruins.
Yeah, over the course of the series, I have to say that nosfa, for me, has been playing the better Quake. He was unfortunate not to win that second one, so it should be a shock to the system for dramiS, because he was just trying to fight fire with that Sorlag. Didn't feel that he adjusted the playstyle too much to account for the way in which nosfa was playing. So he definitely needs to slow it down more on Ruins now, play more methodical. He has to build that overstack. Again, I'm going to refer back to Awoken, the way he played Veil before. The overstack won him that game, and that's what you have to do on Galena. So definitely want to see more of a strategy from dramiS going into this one. nosfa, for me, it's more of the same. I think he's been playing great, and now he has that vision to play around, so let's see how he does that.
Yeah, of course, he has the vision and then needs to make sure to keep on his toes, to keep his totems in check. As you rightly mentioned, it's going to be extremely difficult to kind of keep track of sometimes, but yeah, it's going to be a tough road in itself, as long as he makes sure to check everywhere. Of course, you sniff things out, of course, when they're holding certain areas or rerouting around every time. What are you laughing at, Dan? What are you laughing at?
I'm laughing at Twitch chat giving me crap for my poor Brazilian. I was trying to big up my homie in nosfa. Jeez.
Oh, don't worry. Sometimes I say my R's like my W's like now and again. So trust me, I get full worse crap than that. Trust me. Going into this third and final map, which has been an extremely spicy affair. As now I'm just gonna hit things off on nosfa's POV.
Popping that vision nice and early. Got the high ground. No rockets yet, so has to do it the hard way. Jumping down. dramiS luckily missing those shots, however, so they will be trading position. dramiS going back up to the high ground, working his way around, but there's still a long time before this mega.
Hits the first. dramiS on the back foot. Of course, with that piercing sight. Oh, he's gone into courtyard as well. He's got a chance, but dramiS had a small sign of it going into that totem. It's derailed, but it's not going to be enough. But it does mean that dramiS let's get free mega as he does get away. nosfa's still looking to try and recover. dramiS is going to have a massive, massive stack, and nosfa's in some deep trouble here, Dan, especially if he gets found out.
Yeah, but he's quite happy up above. dramiS, though, obviously picking up the mega on the last rotation. They both have that timing. Lovely awareness from nosfa. If dramiS saw that, he didn't, so instead he just plays it simple, picks the item up, works his way around. See, he's already trying to build a little bit of an overstack over in that corner. We'll retreat back there, put it there. The good and bad thing about that is obviously it's a safe area, but if it gets found out, you lose everything. So I prefer to try and separate them if you can.
Nice 69 from the T-junction there. He's trying to go for the rail strut afterwards. Just tickles him a little bit more. Added damage, though. It's piling up. The last 4 rockets did tickle him a tad. Wasn't enough to, well, attempt to keep him at bay. But look at the totems underneath, Dan.
Yeah. dramiS doesn't want a rocket, however. Just going to head on down, but he's spotted out early. Now dramiS has that overstack.
Mega in 8, heavy in 20. nosfa's doing a good job just staying alive and keeping himself well away, but the problem is as he's doing that, I was going to say he's trying to look for, not really looking for these totems too much yet because he's not really having the opportunity to, but he's walked into a couple of them anyway. But look at that, there we have it, the treasure cove there of totems still managed to take them out. The heavy's been occupied by dramiS and still continuing on. He knows but the kills will come. Just got to be patient and get ready for them.
Yeah, nosfa's doing a good job of playing this hide-and-seek game, but absolutely no stack whatsoever to work with. dramiS can afford to delay this. He knows that his opponent's not in the vicinity. So he does exactly do that. Offsets the timing slightly. He's been found. dramiS going to push in here, but the visor is already gone. Now the use of that piercing sight.
Oh, catch went to the LG, but dramiS got better out of that little scuffle on that last rail. Still being very patient, and as he should really. Of course, he's still got 6 minutes and 15 left on the clock. Mega's been up for a while now. It's only been picked up here, but he's looking to try and challenge his nosfa because it's going to get heavy here, which is going to be huge. I need the 70 from the last rocket. There's a little bit more rocket here and there in terms of damage, but dramiS comes out with the rail, so does nosfa. 4 minutes in, and it's looking quite bleak for dramiS now. He's lost all his armor. He had a great stack previously. nosfa can smell blood.
He got desperate there. As you say, made a big mistake letting nosfa in, and nosfa just bowed his time, kept the timing strong. Playing pretty much flawless so far. Oh, unlucky.
Oh, misses that one. Some very important rails which nosfa could have hit in order to increase his lead. Which is definitely not something we normally expect from him. He doesn't normally hit the... Always hits the hard ones, not the easy ones, sadly for him so far. I think that's the best way of explaining it, is... Does use that piercing sight. Sadly misses the rail around the heavy side. But dramiS has the upper hand in terms of stack once again, so can try and figure out a way to get himself back in this match. 5 minutes in, just past halfway mark. nosfa still leading by 1.
Good job by dramiS. Got himself back into control now. Got those both major items you can contest for. nosfa's in the area. But no piercing sight. Good exchange though. Critical dramiS. nosfa hit that exchange rail. Keeps dramiS putting too much pressure on. And then just a moment of carelessness jumping through the entryway. And that's the power of Visor. Won himself a mega.
Oh, good rockets coming out again. Needs to back away. Heavy up in 5. But he's going to dive straight in. He knows it's his time. And beautiful tracking from nosfa.
Great timing. And exactly the timing of that item. So we knew where dramiS was going to be. And as you say, punished him with the LG.
5 seconds until this next mega. nosfa playing extremely safe. Not pushing anywhere until he use that piercing sight for as a little safety net. Heavy's up. dramiS is going to be right below. But sometimes these situations can pile out of control. One misstep from nosfa will cost him that first frag. And keeping him on the spawn around the light siders could easily just tie things up. And nosfa knows this, which is why he's been ever so careful with what routes he's going to take. But luckily, his defensive rails have been on par to help him maintain this lead.
Exactly. dramiS is struggling to break this defense from nosfa. Not hitting really anything in terms of damage. nosfa's just keeping it at arm's length at the moment.
Rocket's coming out back and forth. Comes out with the LG vote. nosfa's still alive, but the rocket finally comes out from dramiS. That's going to be the first frag to his name at 7.5 minutes in. And he has to make it. Oh, yeah, go on. I know what you're going to say.
Such a bad spawn from nosfa's point of view. He has to give up the whole map now.
And dramiS does have the overstack whenever he sees fit. Of course, no need for it as of yet. Oh. We'll do now, of course. Good rails coming out there. And dramiS. Oh, he could take it down and clean things up. That's going to be 2 apiece. Right. And still has this overstack. The problem is, some of them around this courtyard area actually just scattered everywhere. He's still got 2 left in play, but it's difficult. It's going to make it a tough road here. He can continue this overstack again. Let's pretend rocket jump as well.
Nice. Taking some self-damage to get the bubble to improve the timing of his next totem, just to keep that overstack going. And ever since he's got that overstack in the last few minutes, that's been a game changer for him. Oh, they're going to fight down here. Huge drop into him, closing the gap with the rockets and the tracking. No, with a minute and a half to go, nosfa drops down 3-2, and a big rocket from dramiS's point of view. He's not railable, so he can get out of here, but obviously wants to avoid that damage, and he does.
And with this overstacking, can just get so much. Oh no, he's actually taken over the totems instead. That was such good timing, but he's trapped in the courtyard. There's nothing he can do. He has to take this bout no matter what. If there's an advantage or disadvantage. Oh, 2 rounds, making it free. nosfa comes out 3 for 3. That was literally one of the only outcome he could expect in order to take that. But dramiS, he comes over the rail of his own.
Okay. Does he know the timing of the mega? It doesn't look like it. If he does, he's not confident to pressure it. So nosfa, full control. Oh, misses that rail, but he knows exactly where his opponent is. And this time, he can close the gap. He doesn't know about the overstack, though. He doesn't know how stacked he is. Luckily, he didn't press it. dramiS only has... Oh, he does have an LG. In fact, double rail as well. nosfa has to retreat. He used the piercing sight. So that's not available.
Let's be honest, he's not going to go into the courtyard with the stack he's on. As soon as he gets trapped there, he's going to be all doom and gloom. LG to rail combos. Being quite effective in terms of damage, but he needs to get into this court.
No!
But he's caught with the rail. That's it. And if he walks into these, he's got to deal with them at the exact same time, and dramiS can recover during that moment, as both of them are quite equal stack, as these totems are just absolutely everywhere. And that's going to be the opening for nosfa, but he doesn't push. Decides to back away.
Yeah, I think he knows how low he is, but maybe he didn't realize whether he had totems down there and just wants to play the long game. Obviously, his next frag win, so you want to be secure. Another huge rail from nosfa. Some of these peak rails have been ridiculous.
There have been 10 seconds till this next heavy. It comes up, good rocket. nosfa finally gets a little bit of armor to his name, as dramiS is not looking so good health-wise, but what a good return rail there. He could be going for the second. Both of them very equal stack, looking to go for that heavy. nosfa, that's going to be a big play from him.
Oh, he didn't get rail though, so he is going to have to cycle around again. dramiS with no rail. nosfa doesn't know this, but he's trapped him. He's railable. He just needs to hit one more. The health will push him beyond railable. Oh no, not just yet. Oh dear.
No.
Now, it's a matter of time. Surely a matter of time.
It's another mere seconds here. dramiS,
There we go.
As nosfa takes back 2-1 in this series. Extremely close series overall. I really enjoyed that. It was actually sick.
It really was Hoga Bonito. It really was. I enjoyed that set.
Portuguese is pretty good, Dan.
Oh mate, I'm on it. It was a great set. I mean, I thought dramiS was going to take it. We always said it was going to be a close set, but nosfa played, I mean, as he had done all season, to be fair to him. He's played incredible. Really good strategical Quake. Nice and calm and collected. Played the items well. Aim was on point. Cannot fault that.
No, I can't at all, and this is why we were both very undecided of how it's going to go 2-1 either way. It's really debatable because it's so back and forth between the two, but both of them adapted very well to each other in a lot of ways. It wasn't as chaotic as we expected, but just a lot of great strategical aggression here. And it's like you mentioned earlier with this little setup. If he had a rail, it could have seemed something a little bit different. Bit of a shame there, but it's like we said before, and we'll say it again since the beginning of the show, some very, very minor errors can, of course, cost you this game here. And as you can see from the accuracy, 43% for nosfa, 38% there from dramiS. A lot of rail damage, but quite even really across the board. I didn't really check the items in control, but yeah, again, that was also very back and forth as well. We know dramiS had a little bit early lead to begin with, but yeah, all about those totems as well. And even after all those totem plays, nosfa still played incredibly well with that visor plays as well.
Definitely. dramiS has struggled for large parts of that game, but as soon as he was able to build that overstack up, get into control in the later stages of the set, he was forging his way into it. But nosfa kept his cool. There was a few times he was on the rope, but managed to sustain himself, and dramiS wasn't ever to reclaim his position. Even in map 2 that he won, he was a little bit fortunate there. I felt that he didn't adjust enough playing that Sorlag. So either way, it was a cracking set, and full credit for nosfa for taking it 2-1.
Yeah, fair play to an entertaining series in the least. And yeah, we've still got one more series left to go. Of course, we know you've all been waiting for this one. It's going to be Tox versus Benga, but we're going to have a quick short break. And when we come back, we'll have the final series underway for you, so stay tuned.